Hi, good day. We are the Group 3 and we're here to present our topic, the self from the perspective of sociology. Number 1. The self is a product of modern society among other constructions. So before we begin, disclaimer. This video is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. So what is sociology? Sociology is like looking at the big picture of how people interact with each other and with society as a whole. It's kind of like studying the rules that govern how we live together, why we do certain things, and how group of people function together. It helps us understand things like why some communities are tight-knit while others are more individualistic, why certain social problems exist, and how cultures develop. So, basically, sociology is all about understanding how society works and why people do what they do. Sociologists are concerned with questions about the person in the community. Questions like, how does society influence you? How do you affect society? Who are you as a person in the community? Sociology posits that socially formed norms, beliefs, and values come to exist within the person to a degree where these become natural and normal, thus developing the person's self-identity. So modernization has significantly changed society. This has affected how an individual builds and develops his or her self-identity. Pre-modern society has centered on survival. People behave according to rules and traditions, while the family and the immediate environment provided supervision and how to get through life, like choosing where to live, what line of work, and who to marry. So modernization, however, has improved people's living conditions. A person in modern society is free to choose where to live, what to do, and who to be with. Unlike the past few decades or years, where people doesn't have the freedom to choose or to have a choice. So however, stability has also decreased as traditions and traditional support systems, such as family, have decreased in importance. In modern societies, individualism is dominant, and developing one's self-identity is central.
Key characteristic of modernity. According Guidance 1991, the most patent major characteristic of modernity are: first, industrialism. The social relationship implied in the extensive use of material power and machinery in all processes of production. Second, capitalism. A production system involving both competitive product markets and commodification, putting a price tag of labor power. Third, institution of surveillance. The massive increase of power and reach by institutions, especially in government. Fourth, dynamism. The most evident characteristic of a modern society. Dynamism is characterized of having vigorous activity and progress. Everything is subject to change.
Social groups and social network. Sociologist Semmel expressed that people create social networks by joining social groups. A social group is described as having two or more people interacting with one another, sharing similar characteristics, and whose members identify themselves as part of the groups, example, family, barkada, and classmates. Meanwhile, social network refers to the ties of connection that link you to your social group. The connection you have with your family is your blood relation. The connection you have with your barkada is your friendship. And the connection you have with your classmates is the common interest to learn. A social group is either organic or rational. An organic group is naturally occurring and is highly influenced by your family. You join these groups because your family is also part of it. George Simmel called it organic motivation, and its positive effect is rootedness, giving the person the same of belongings. Downsides: less freedom and greater social conformity. You are expected to act and behave according to your community standards.
The me, objective element of the self. We first imagine ourselves from perspective of the others, makes us aware of ourselves as social objects. The I, subjective or active part of the self, allow us to react and to assess ourselves, lead us to engage in internal conversation. Our experience involves continuous conversation between the me and the I. Developing the self. Me developed a concept that proposed different stages of self-development. These are language, play, game. Language, self-development of and language are intimately tied. Language sets the stage for self-development. Play, childs develop an understanding of how the other people feel about themselves. Game, take into account of societal rules and adheres to it. According to Med, the self is developed by understanding the rule and one must abide by it to win the game or be successful at an activity. The two sides of self, I and me. Mid sees the person as an active process, not just a mere reflection of society. He further proposed two inattractive facets of the self, the I and the me. The me and the I have a deductive relationship, which is like a system of checks and balances.
Um, Good morning, everyone. My name is John Porcicolades, and I'm reporting a understanding the self, exploring individual and collective dimension through sociological lens. So I'm tackling the introduction. So the introduction is the concept of the self is a multi-faced construct of the interag philosopher and psychologist and sociologist for countries. So while psychology delves into the internal working of the individual self, sociology provides a broader perspective by examining how the self is shaped and understood within the context of society. These reports aim exploring the notion of the self form of a sociological standpoint, with a particular focus on the dichotomy between the individual and collective self. So, this is the individual self. Individual self in the sociology, the individual self refers to the unique identity and the personality of individual. The encompasses one's true thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and experiences, all of which contribute a sense of individual and autonomy. Sociologists such as George Herbert Mead and Irving Goffman have explored how the individual self is constructed through sociological instructions and symbolic communications. According to Mead, the theory of the symbolic interactionism, the self emerged through a process of socialization, wherein individual learns to interpret a response to the symbol and gestures of others. Through interaction with family, peers, and agents, individual develops a sense of self-awareness and internalize societal norms and values. Goldman further elaborated on the concept by examining how individual performs different roles in various social contexts. So, adapting different selves to fit the expectation of others. So that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Developing the self may develop a concept that purpose different stage of self-development. These are language, play, and game. And the first one, language. Self-develop and language are intimately tied. Language sets the stage for self-development. And the second, play. Child develops an understanding of how the other people feel about themselves. And the last one, game. Take into account societal rules and adheres to it. According to Mead, the self is developed by understanding the rules, and one must abide by it to the game or be successful at an activity. Two sides of self, I and me. Mead sees the person as an active process, not just a more reflection of society. He further purposed two interactive phases of the self, the I and the me. The me and I have a didactic relationship, which is like a system of checks and balances. In me, the me and the I, the me, objective element of the self, we first imagine ourselves from perspective of others. And the second, make us aware of ourselves as social objects. And the I, subjective of active part of the self, allows us to react to other assets ourselves, and leads us to engage in internal conversation. Our experience involves continuous conversation between the me and the I.
In conclusion, the concept of the self is a fundamental aspect of human existence, shaped by both individual agency and social context. From a sociological perspective, understanding the self involves examining how individuals navigate between their unique identities and the collective identities of their societies. By exploring the interplay between the individual and collective self, sociologists can gain insights into the dynamic of social interaction, identity formation, and cultural change. So we are the Group 3, and that's our topic. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening.